Imagine the abrupt, oppressive silence that descended upon the royal household's private quarters when two of the most influential ladies in the British monarchy engaged in a violent, unprecedented altercation at a typical family get-together. 8-year-old Prince Louis was spotted sobbing as he ran along a quiet passage inside a private drawing room, distant from official press officers and public cameras. He was holding a little object close to his chest. A few moments later, Princess Anne's distinct, commanding voice cut through the audience and gave Queen Camilla a direct, unadorned two-word ultimatum: take a step back. For many years, disagreements between senior royals have been hidden under layers of courteous formality and planned silence due to court etiquette and rigid institutional hierarchy. However, the Princess Royal once again showed why she is the passionate, uncompromising defender of her family on this remarkable afternoon as an upset young prince sought safety from what witnesses described as a cold, overreaching demand. She didn't think twice. She didn't soften her voice. She also showed little respect for position or title. Princess Anne put an absolute line in the sand between Queen Camilla and her sobbing grandnephew, shocking the royal household and compelling a major re-evaluation of how Princess Diana's memory is preserved within palace gates. Please take a moment to subscribe to CrownShot Chronicles and enable all alerts before we get into the intense secret details of what Camilla tried to do, why Prince Louis was in tears, and how Prince William and King Charles responded to this explosive confrontation. We make sure you never miss a revelation by providing you with the most genuine, in-depth, and emotionally impactful analyses of royal history and palace secrets every single day. Let's now go right behind the palace's huge oak doors to learn the real story of the altercation that shook the royal family. The distinct emotional landscape surrounding little Prince Louis and the complex history of preserving family memories within the lofty walls of the crown must be meticulously examined in order to completely comprehend Princess Anne's reaction of fierce, protective rage. Louis, the youngest child of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, has won over millions of admirers worldwide with his unadulterated passion, sincere warmth, and unstoppable personality. Louis symbolizes an important new chapter in the history of the monarchy, in contrast to previous generations of royals who were brought up under the rigid, emotionally detached expectations of a previous era. He is part of a generation that has been overtly urged by their parents to show true feelings, be true to themselves, and cling to their heritage. The enduring, treasured memory of his late grandmother, Princess Diana, is fundamental to those family ties. Even though Louis was born more than 20 years after Diana's untimely death in Paris, her presence is still a strong, alive thread that permeates everyday life at Adelaide Cottage. Making sure that all three of their children have a genuine personal connection to the grandma they were never able to see in person has been William and Catherine's top responsibility. Artificial public appearances, lofty political declarations, or meaningless photo ops orchestrated for the media do not sustain this relationship. It silently exists in tiny family heirlooms that have great emotional significance for young children attempting to comprehend their lineage, handwritten notes maintained in family albums, and small personal mementos passed down through the family through historical photos exhibited on private mantelpieces. Prince Louis had brought a little treasured object that his father, Prince William, had personally handed to him earlier that morning to a private family get-together scheduled before a significant formal court function in the afternoon in question. It was neither a glittering royal item meant for public exhibition nor a formal court appraisal, nor was it an official piece of state crown jewelry. It was a simple, old-fashioned silver lapel pin, a sentimental memento that had belonged to Princess Diana in the early 1992s. William kept it in seclusion for many years before passing it on to his youngest boy as a small act of love and family continuity. Wearing the pin tucked neatly inside his coat was a source of great pride for little Louis, a physical link to the grandmother, whose tales he had grown up listening to with wide eyes. But when Queen Camilla saw the tiny silver tucked inside young Prince Louis's blazer, the cozy, laid-back mood of the royal family's gathering in the private reception rooms prior to the ceremony abruptly changed. Camilla approached the 8-year-old prince with a forceful, unyielding position, viewing the item through the strict, merciless prism of conventional court protocol and formal dress regulations. According to people close to the household staff who saw the conversation take place, she reportedly voiced significant disapproval, saying that the memento was traditionally unsuitable for a young prince to wear at a formal royal event. Camilla reportedly insisted that the pin be taken off right away and given to palace employees for safekeeping in an attempt to uphold what she saw as rigorous adherence to formal dress codes and antiquated palace regulations. She claimed that private family relics of that kind shouldn't be brought into public court settings where every detail is examined by official observers. For Prince Louis, at 8 years old, the object his father had given him held great emotional significance. His step-grandmother's abrupt, harsh order was perplexing and extremely upsetting. In his naive, childlike manner, Louis tried to cling to the pin and explained that his father had given it to him especially so he could remember his grandmother Diana. However, Camilla reportedly intensified her demand, claiming that royal regulations surrounding formal clothes were absolute and that no particular exceptions could be made, rather than relaxing her tone, moderating her approach, or letting the child's parents handle the situation discreetly behind closed doors. Prince Louis sobbed, holding the tiny silver pin securely in his fist as he was overcome by the severe tone, the unexpected institutional pressure, and the horrifying prospect of having his priceless family memento seized. In order to hide his tears from the assembled visitors, the young prince turned aside and ran out of the drawing room, looking for a quiet, private nook deep down the hallway. Princess Anne came into the corridor at that exact, extremely tense time. Respected for being the most diligent, direct, and unpretentious member of the royal family, the Princess Royal has long upheld a zero-tolerance attitude for needless palace politics, particularly when it comes to the mental health of the younger members of the family. Anne had seen young Louis sprinting by in obvious anguish, his shoulders trembling and his face buried in his hands, and she had tried to figure out what had happened right away. She confronted Queen Camilla in the immediate aftermath of the tense confrontation as soon as she entered the drawing chamber. Princess Anne's renowned poise suddenly gave way to sheer, undiluted indignation upon understanding that the 8-year-old youngster had been driven to tears over a simple, deeply treasured family keepsake honoring Princess Diana. Princess Anne moved straight into Camilla's path without waiting for formal introductions, without hesitating diplomatically, and without following conventional etiquette. The Princess Royal's stance was immediately intimidating. According to witnesses, her eyes were keen, her posture was stiff, and her voice was forceful, low, and ringing with complete, unquestionable authority. She didn't use indirect clues or courteous diplomatic double language. Rather, she tackled the matter with harsh, unvarnished candor, telling Camilla unequivocally that it was completely wrong for a family to impose cold, petty etiquette on a bereaved child. During this acerbic argument, Anne gave Camilla the stern verbal reprimand that reverberated down the silent hallway, insisting that she back off and leave the young prince alone. Everyone in the room was astonished by Anne's response, which was so intense and powerful that it abruptly stopped the discourse between senior aides and family members. Understanding Princess Anne's special, irreplaceable position within the royal hierarchy is essential to appreciating the intervention's enormous weight and historical significance. Few people in the monarchy can ever expect to match Anne's unquestionable institutional power and moral standing as the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. She has devoted her life to serving the monarch, fulfilling thousands of engagements, gaining the esteem of the British people and the steadfast allegiance of the royal household workers. Princess Anne is renowned for her direct honesty, her unwavering devotion to her family, and her complete contempt for small-time court power struggles, in contrast to many who manage palace life by cautious public relations strategy and well-thought-out diplomatic tactics. Importantly, during Princess Diana's lifetime, Anne and she had a close, complicated, and passionately respectful relationship in which they both recognized the extreme frigid demands imposed by inflexible palace machinery. Princess Anne wasn't just standing up for an 8-year-old boy's right to wear a lapel pin when she confronted Queen Camilla that afternoon. In opposition to the decades-long pattern of icy institutional repression that had afflicted the family, she was making a historic and noble stand. Forcing Prince Louis to give up a memento of his grandmother was not really about upholding dress code etiquette, as Anne quickly realized. By interjecting herself, an innocent youngster suffered actual emotional trauma as a result of an unwarranted use of power. When it came to controlling how Diana's grandchildren choose to remember her, The Princess Royal made it clear that the days of sacrificing intimate family love for strict, icy formality were officially over. Concerned staff members informed Prince William that his little son was agitated in the next corridor, and he rushed on the scene just as the altercation was about to reach its pinnacle. William listened carefully as his son described what had transpired in the drawing room, while Louise, still clearly shaken, stood close to a window and held the silver pin firmly in his palm. William entered the reception room where Princess Anne and Queen Camilla were still engaged in a difficult, uncompromising argument, feeling deeply touched and immediately protective. The Prince of Wales stood strongly and clearly with his aunt, instead of trying to soften the situation with diplomatic platitudes, push the issue under the floor, or smooth things over, asserting that no outside authority inside the palace had the right to intervene, dictate, or police his children's emotional lives. William made it very clear to everyone in attendance that decisions about his children's personal mementos and their strong emotional bond with their late mother were solely his and Catherine's. Shortly later, King Charles arrived, setting up the dramatic episode's high-stakes finale. The king faced a sensitive, crucial time of leadership within his own inner family circle, trapped between his wife, his powerful sister, and his heir. According to people close to the family, Charles silently listened as Princess Anne described the circumstances with unwavering candor, stressing that young Louis had been unnecessarily upset by a simple gesture of personal remembering. Charles, who has put up a lot of effort in recent years to cultivate a loving, caring, and supportive connection with each of his grandchildren, realized right once the grave error in handling the issue. The king took a dramatic, unexpected decision that utterly caught senior quarters off guard, refusing to allow a significant family breach to grow or to enable his grandson to feel alienated within his own home. To locate young Prince Louis, King Charles personally strolled down the hallway. He knelt to meet his grandson at eye level on the carpet. The little prince was reassured by the king in a kind and quiet voice that his affection for his grandma Diana should be treasured and acknowledged rather than concealed or punished. Louis had the freedom to keep the silver pen, Charles personally reiterated. With loving grandfatherly tenderness, he put his hand comfortingly on the boy's shoulder and led him back toward his parents. Princess Anne's protective posture was quietly but effectively endorsed by the king's firm but gentle intervention, which reassured the entire royal household that personal respect, emotional integrity, and family compassion would always prevail over cold institutional directives and strict court etiquette. The internal dynamics of the contemporary monarchy have undergone a subtle but significant change as a result of this quiet palace conflict, which has had far-reaching effects for palace officials, senior courtiers, and employees who have spent decades negotiating the unwritten laws of royal existence. Princess Anne's unwavering support for Prince Louis was evident in every hallway of Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, and Kensington Palace. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, the younger generation, are encircled and shielded by a strong ring of familial unity that will not put up with cold institutional policing, needless meddling, or public relations ploys that jeopardize their emotional health. The incident also brought to light Princess Anne's indispensable role as the royal family's moral compass and emotional pillar. The Princess Royal serves as a strong, unwavering link between historical customs and contemporary realities in a time of swift change, intensive public scrutiny, and changing royal duties. Her readiness to face Queen Camilla head-on demonstrated that genuine strength within the monarchy is found in the bravery to defend the truth, uphold genuine familial love, and protect the innocent, regardless of the personal or political cost, rather than in the strict, unwilling enforcement of titles or protocols. She showed everyone in attendance that procedure should strengthen the human ties that bind a family together, rather than undermine them. As Prince William and Catherine get set to become king and queen, they feel incredibly secure knowing that Princess Anne is prepared to protect their offspring. In order to ensure that Princess Diana's memory continues to be a source of inspiration, warmth, and comfort, rather than a source of conflict or discomfort, they have worked tirelessly to create a home environment at Adelaide Cottage characterized by transparency, emotional honesty, and deep enduring respect for the past. They realized that by defending Louis, Princess Anne contributed to the preservation of the emotional autonomy of an old generation of future leaders who will eventually govern the country with compassion rather than impersonality. and neither the perplexity of an oppressive demand nor the tears he cried in a quiet hallway will characterize young Prince Louis's memories of that fateful afternoon. Rather, it will be recalled as the instant he experienced the intense, steadfast love of a great aunt who bravely came forward to defend his little holy memento. The silver pin is still securely in his possession, serving as a reminder of the solid, cohesive family that supports him at every turn, in addition to serving as a symbol of the grandma he never met. Moments like this show the real heart throbbing behind the sparkling tiaras, formal state dinners, and huge historic spectacle as the British monarchy negotiates the complexity of the contemporary world. It is a tale of 3 generations banding together to rewrite the unwritten norms of royal upbringing, demonstrating that family protection, love, and personal memory will always prevail against chilly palace machinery. There was much more to Princess Anne's uncompromising order to retreat than a fleeting defense of a young kid in tears. Princess Diana's grandchildren will grow up surrounded by truth, shielded by family, and free to remember and cherish the grandmother who loved them before they were even born, according to a potent and lasting pledge.